But that's exactly the reason why we have to get involved locally, because on the federal level, it's more difficult to engage your elected officials. But I'd encourage you to engage with them too. We've got people in the state Senate, on the state assembly. That's here locally on the state level, but we've also got people on the federal level in the federal Senate and the House of Representatives. And if we're not engaging with them on the issues that we see are important, then nothing ever gets done, because they're supposed to actually serve us. But the fact of the matter is, none of them serve us regardless. I mean, you get one or two out of all of the congressional officials and all of the senators, a few hundred of them, and you get like two or three. And I'm being, what do you call it? I guess hyperbolic. I guess that's the word for it. I mean, I'm being a little inflacious when I say that, because there are some really good people in the federal level of government. The problem is, when you get good people, their voices tend to be silenced. And that's a serious, serious issue. But nobody wants to talk about that. We saw a couple years ago, one of the groups that the Democrats love to hate was the Tea Party, right? So the Tea Party was a more, I guess you would say, about the people, right? They were about shrinking government. They were about pulling back all of the curtains on all of the malfeasance in the government. And they wanted to lower the taxes for all the people and return the focus to the people and the power to the people. But the Democrats tried to lambast them and tear them down every chance that they got a second. And that was wrong, because they didn't do anything that was wrong. They didn't say anything that was wrong. They were saying, hey, these are the issues that we see, even in many cases bucking the greater whole of the Republican Party, which was where they were caucusing with, and that was a serious, serious issue. And since that time, I guess you say, the Tea Party has kind of evaporated. It's a gone movement now, and now it's the Freedom Caucus, I guess, is the renewing of that type of a concept. But even still, a lot of those people there, when they're talking about the important issues that they see that are going on in the country and that the government isn't doing right and stuff like that, the Democrats come in and they try to sweep them away and say, oh, well, they're crazy and this and that. And my only question is where are the Democrats that are standing up to the other Democrats? Goose egg. I don't see one. I wish I saw one. I don't see any. You understand what I'm saying? Where are the Democrats that are willing to stand up against the Democrats that are destroying our nation, that are expanding the government eternally, making it bigger and bigger and bigger every single day, while the people in the country suffer, while the prices continue to go up, while the quality of life continues to go down? Like, where are the Democrats that are willing to speak up against the other Democrats? That's what I want to know. Somebody explain it to me. Explain it to me like I'm 5. You understand what I'm saying? If you guys are watching us online, I see you guys watching there. Please hit the heart, hit the like, hit the thumbs up. Share this on your page, on your friend's page. Share it to different groups. And definitely drop a comment. I'll try to pop your comment up on the screen and read it as we are here on the air. So definitely drop a comment. I'll read it on air. And definitely hit that share button, hit the heart button, and hit the thumbs up. Even if you just drop a comment in the comments, that's like a heart or an emoji or something like that. Everything helps to help get the algorithm to kick it out to more people. So as we go on, as I said, there were Republicans, which were I guess you say, the Tea Party movement. And then now you've got the Freedom Caucus that were willing to stand up against certain things that the greater whole of the Republican Party were doing that were not good. But in the Democrat Party, you don't have any of that. None of that. It's everybody toes the same line. Everybody sings the same music. And then people wonder, why isn't anything getting done? And if you look at the tactics that have been implemented by the Democrats in the federal level, all they do is scream that the other side is bad. They never have anything. They never present anything. And when they do present something, it's when they're not in power of the House and of the Senate and of the presidency. Why is that? Why is that? The Democrats just had the House, they had the Senate, and they had the presidency for like 2-3 years. They didn't propose anything to protect the dreamers. They didn't propose anything for reparations. They didn't propose anything for expanded social services. They didn't propose anything for expanded Medicaid. They didn't propose anything for greater payments for Social Security. They didn't do any of that. Any of that. All of these things that they say that they care about, they didn't do nothing about it when they were in power. Why is that? Because they don't really care. But they'd be happy to play in your face about what's going on and make it like they're trying to pretend to care. But they don't. They don't really care. And that's a very, very, very serious issue. And we need to have that serious conversation. Why don't the Democrats stand up? Why will none of them go against what their party is pushing? Why won't people just say, hey, some of the stuff that's going on in the party is wrong? When you see the Republicans, there are people in the Republican Party are like, hey, yeah, no, that's not right. We shouldn't be doing it. I'll give you an example. Chip Roy is a very stalwart voice on conservative issues. And they try to drag him every now and then because he'll say, oh, no, I don't agree with us expanding the spending or something like that. Or I don't agree with us adding more, restricting more privacies of the citizens or stuff like that. And he'll stand up, even if he's the only person, he'll still stand up against it, even with other Republicans taking a poop on him, like we saw during the budget stuff, which they're trying to do another budget thing now, which is a whole bunch of nonsense. Do the budget the right way, one budget, one time, finish it, get it done, because we are almost, maybe 5 years behind on having a budget now, almost. You understand what I'm saying? The United States, the most powerful country in the world, has not had an actual budget in like almost 4 or 5 years. The whole term Biden was president, there was no budget, not one budget. Okay, you'll say, well, Marcus, how is that possible? Well, because they kept kicking the can down the road continuously, saying, no, let's do a continuing resolution. Let's do a continuing resolution. Let's do a continuing resolution. Then the Republicans, got in there and they're like, oh, yeah, we don't want any more continuing resolutions. The second that they got in there, what they do? Continuing resolution, bogus nonsense. Okay, we don't need a continuing resolutions. No more kicking the can down the road. We need actual budgeting. Don't get me started. Then we got DOGE, right? The Department of Government Efficiency, or whatever the case, that Elon is heading up. And people either love Elon or they hate Elon, or they like the work that he's doing or they don't like the work that he's doing, which is a problem for me on all levels, because they're not able to separate the person as the individual, from the actual work that they are doing, right? Like, you could dislike the guy. No, well, maybe he's doing good work, though. Or you could like the guy and be like, oh, well, maybe I don't necessarily like the work that he's doing, And if you're watching online, hit the heart, hit a comment. Every comment you post, we'll try to put up on the screen. I see you there. Somebody just commented, Carl, I see you. Let's try to pop up some of these comments. And if you guys drop a thumbs up, drop a heart, we'll try to get it out there and on the screen. Here, let's see what Carl's got to say. Carl says, Democrats are completely irresponsible. And now, what's that say? The GOP is failing. Yeah. So to Carl's note, there is a serious problem with both the Democrats and the Republicans. The Republicans, however, Carl, I'll take a little bit of a disagreement with you. As I mentioned, people like Chip Roy and some others, there are people that are willing to stand up and actually speak up and be vocal about the issues. So we're slowly getting some stuff restored for people that would be considered the everyday people, versus the Democrats who are still just carrying water for the elites. Even though they say that they care about the people. Somebody told me the other day, they said that the Democrats pride themselves on being the party of the poor people, except they're not the party that represents the poor. They're the party that keeps people poor. I said, let me absorb that for a second. That was real serious. That was a real serious statement right there. That's crazy. They're not, they call themselves the party of the poor. Democrats call themselves the party of the poor, but they don't represent the poor. They keep the people poor. I said, wow. I said, that's crazy, but it's true. And it's about policy, right? So don't think that it's, oh, well, Marcus, there he goes, harping on Democrats or whatever. No. It's about policy, 100% about policy. Good policy, bad policy. I don't care who presents it or whatever the case may be. Policy, when it's bad, it's not good. It's just simple. And the Democrats have continually pushed policy that has harmed our nation, that has harmed the middle class, and that has harmed small businesses and individuals. Okay. And then let's see, Carl says he loves Elon and he loves the work. That's what's important, that you love the work. Okay. And you say make a budget, you're with me 100%. We need a budget. If you guys are just tuning in now, we're talking about a lot of stuff that's going on in the government currently and the differences between the two parties, and the fact that we need people that are in the parties to actually stand on business, because that doesn't happen a lot. It doesn't. It honestly doesn't. Okay. I appreciate you too, Carl. Carl says, thank you for sharing and talking truth to power. Thank you very much, Carl. That's what I do my best to do. And I'm going to keep fighting. And I encourage you guys, if you guys can, we try to raise $50 to $100 per show to get some more actual airtime, because airtime costs money. And we also are trying to save up for some new equipment and faster internet and stuff. So if you guys could, please donate. You can donate via Cash App. That's $MW Real, the number one. That's Cash App is $MW Real 1. Okay. We also have Venmo and PayPal. And you can donate at Marcus C. Williams on either one of those. So Venmo or PayPal is at Marcus C. Williams. Let's jump back into it. Let's see. Joshua says, thank you. Thank you, blessed Marcus, for defending the poor people. I appreciate that very much. Somebody has to stand up for the downtrodden. And it's very serious, because the people that are forgotten the most are the people that are the working class and those in poverty. Even though we spend all of these money on surveys and nonprofits and stuff like that are supposed to lift people out of poverty and solve all of these problems that we have, but they never do any of that. None of that ever happens. I saw a video online. There was this lady, and you know how they do the street interviews with people and stuff like that. And they interviewed this lady. They said, okay, hey, lady, what do you do? What's your job? She was like, oh, I'm one of the associate directors or something of one of the major nonprofits that works on homelessness. And they asked her, they said, well, what's the biggest issue that you face as one of those people? And they asked her how much she makes. She makes $250,000 a year being one of the executives for homeless people. How you make that much money and you trying to help the homeless? That sounds like you making too much money to be helping the homeless. I'm just saying, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be making money, but I'm starting to say, well, maybe we need to be looking at the balance sheet and where the money is being spent, because if they got that much money for executives, maybe we need to look at and reassess this whole situation. So somebody ended up tracking down this lady's company that she works with. And it's like LA homeless something, I forget what it was. So they ended up tracking down the company, and they had received $65 million. Okay, $65 million from the California government in grants and stuff like that to help the homeless. So what did they decide to do with that money? They decided, oh, we're going to renovate a motel for $60 million. Wait a second. Well, how many people can fit in that motel that you're renovating? Oh, about 100. And how many people do you have? You're saying that you need housing. $60 million you're doing to renovate that? That doesn't, and it's not even actual housing, right? Like, it's supportive housing, not homes for people, supportive, right? Like, so some more government nonsense. But this is the concept. All of these NGOs and the nonprofit organizations and stuff like that, they're misapplying the actual stuff that we have for the homeless or for those that are addicted to drugs or any number of other things, education. We could talk about all of that. Kevin, I see you there. I'm going to pop up your comment. Kevin, I did see that you said that you donated to my my political campaign. You guys, if you don't know where I live in Rochester, I'm running for city council. And I appreciate you donating, Kevin, for that. I did see your comment, but for some reason on YouTube, when I try to pop up the comments or whatever, it doesn't always show up when I pop them up. And then it doesn't let me go back and see them later on. I think because it's a live chat versus the actual after chat. Let me pop your comment up there. See what Kevin's talking about. Kevin says, socialism never works. I'm glad that I have been trying to educate people when it comes to the housing, and landlords are being choked with not enough money coming in to pay for repairs. So what Kevin's talking about is an issue that isn't exclusive to our area here in Rochester and Monroe County, but we've got some horrible, horrible regulations in our city and in our county that make it difficult for people that want to build properties people that want to repair properties. And I'm not just talking about like people that own properties that are like big landlords or even small landlords. I'm talking about people that own their own homes, right? Like if you want to repair something on your own house, the city gives you all good get up on it. You understand what I'm saying? They give you a really, really hard time. It's terrible, you know, and that's just you as an independent person trying to fix your house up or whatever. Or they'll be like, oh, well, you've got to pay us because you haven't fixed this. You think I don't want to fix it? You understand what I'm saying? You think I don't want to fix it? You're trying to give a fine for somebody not wanting to fix their house. You think that they don't want to fix it? They probably do want to fix it. You got some money for them to give them to fix it. Maybe they don't have enough money. And I'm not talking about like landlords and stuff like that. I'm talking about people that own maybe one property, people that live where they own their property and stuff like that. Like like it's crazy. Like how is that even a thing? You understand what I'm saying? But they spend $50,000 to tear down one unit. Don't even get me started on that. I think it's 50,000. It might be up to 75,000. I've heard now. I cannot verify that 75,000 number, but that 50,000 number sounds about right. Okay. So it's crazy. It's a very, very serious issue. And it's stuff like that that we need to talk about because deregulation is important. And that's why we see what's going on with this current administration. Previously, when Trump was in there, he was in the presidency. He erased a lot of regulations. He did a lot of deregulations. I think he was trying to put for every one that he got rid of, that he put on, he got rid of like 5 or something like that. And now for every one he's saying that they're putting in, they're going to get rid of 10 to 20, which is fantastic for me. I think that's fantastic. Get rid deregulation all the way, baby. Okay, government is too big. The government's got too many agencies. The government, nobody knows half. You can't even list half of the agencies, right? Like I keep up with politics, and it seems like every single day I'm finding out about some new government department. And I'm like, that's a department of the government? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I think it's something like 75 or something ridiculous is like close to the official number of different federal departments and stuff like that. And nobody knows what they do. Nobody knows what they're doing. Why do they need to exist? They probably don't. So now that Doge is in there and they're working on saying, oh, well, where'd all the money go? Now we got Democrats that are up and they're up in arms and they're mad. Like they got mad over USAID and them cutting USAID with all of their crazy different funding that they were doing with that. Talking about, oh, we need to save money to give to other people in other countries. Later for them other people in other countries, no offense, but what about the people here in the city of Rochester, in the city of New York, in Flint, Michigan, in California, in Alameda in California, the people in Florida, the people in North Carolina, and it's we got people here that need these resources, but they'd rather spend billions of dollars on illegal aliens. But they'll send our money to foreign countries and then get mad when the government is like, when the president's like, no, we shouldn't be sending that money over. You mad for what? And if you look at most of these people that are out there protesting the hardest about it, they're all tied into these shady non-governmental organizations, these NGOs and stuff like that. And it's a very, very serious problem because what is it? Fraud, waste, and abuse, like the president likes to say. It's fraud, waste, and abuse. It is what it is. Like there's no way around saying it, calling a spade a spade. That's exactly what it is. It is fraud, waste, and abuse. Now, people say, oh, well, they're not even showing all of the stuff. Of course, they're not showing all the stuff. I don't expect them to show all the stuff. I'm glad they're showing some of the stuff. You understand what I'm saying? I'm glad they're showing some of the stuff. Did you see the other day they found $2.7 trillion has been given out in misapplied Medicaid and Social Security payments to people with no Social Security number or people that are in foreign countries, physically in foreign countries. Can you make that make sense to me? $2.7 trillion. I'm pretty much like all of the money that we're in debt has been stolen from the American citizen. Now we coming up on tax time. They about to ask you to roll up out your pockets out of the hard-earned money that you had. Do you really want to give the government any of your money after seeing all the way that they've been ramrodding the people in the community and they want your more tax money from you when they've been stealing from you all these years? Man, please. Then for younger people like me, they talk about, oh, well, there's not going to be any Social Security. I was watching was it Office for Budget Management? No. budget, the other one was it CBO. I was watching the CBO, and they were like, yeah, by 2030 we won't have it, or no, 6 years. What's 6 years from now? Is it 25? 2031, we won't have any more money in Social Security. Okay, and I'm like, that's crazy. You won't have, where my money at? I've been paying into Social Security since I was 13. Since I could work, I've been working and paying into the Social Security. Where is my money? Where is my money? I want all of my money back right now with Bitcoin interest. You understand what I'm saying? Like, this is crazy. Like, you just don't got my money. Like, so these things like Social Security, Medicaid, stuff like that, they're called entitlements, right? Like stuff that the people are entitled to because they've paid into the system, but they don't have anything like that for us. And then you hear people say, oh, well, these people work so hard and they deserve all that money for Social Security and Medicaid and stuff like that. Of course they do. But the government ain't been spending their money right. And now they definitely ain't spending our money right. And then they talking about in another 6 years, it won't be there at all. I hope that Trump does good, and I hope that he gets his sovereign wealth fund off the ground that he's trying to put together. And I hope that we're able to bring in a whole bunch of money from these tariffs and return all of the manufacturing and everything to our nation stateside so that we can actually have a renewal and a revival in our country of not just industry, but of affordability. So with that being said, man, we got a lot of work that needs to be done. So they're out here taking the poop on Trump all the time. And they don't even, the people that are so mad at Trump can't even comprehend the basics. Like, again, Social Security is gone in 6 years. Can we talk about that even? No, they don't want to talk about that. And they're like, oh, well, Trump is going to cut Medicaid or Social Security. First of all, I live in New York State. New York State is run all by the Democrats. The governor's Democrat. The state assembly has been super majority Democrat for what, 55 years, 50 years now? Okay, the Senate's Democrat. All of the thing, everything is run by Democrats. And Kathy Hochul, our governor, the high priestess, she pushed to cut Medicaid. Explain it to me like I'm 5. And they got the same nerve to talk about Trump. Explain it to me. Make it make sense. Okay? Like, and I'm not saying that, Trump is perfect or Trump is all of this and all of that. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying you show it to me on paper where he said this, and you show me that the Democrats are not doing the same thing. You understand what I'm saying? Because the fact of the matter is he said repeatedly, he's not cutting Medicaid, he's not cutting Social Security, he's not going to do any of that. And everything that he's done is bring investment into this country. Since he's been here, he's brought probably $4 trillion so far that I know about. You understand what I'm saying? That I've seen in different press conferences, and I can't even keep up with all of them. He's having a different press conference every day. You know, he got SoftBank to invest almost $1 trillion. I think it was 900 billion, something like that. He got a whole bunch of different data. This guy that does real estate and data, what do you call it? Data center development. He invested like what was it? He said $50 billion or something like that. And then all of this other investment, right? Like lots of investment from across the world and everywhere. And Japan itself is investing like $1 trillion in the US, and that's outside of Sun Masayoshi. And so we've got all of these different investments that are starting to flow in from all of these foreign countries and independent individuals. Saudi Arabia is talking about they're going to invest $2 trillion almost in the US and all of this stuff and all of that stuff. That's fantastic. That's amazing. So I really hope that that money ends up in the sovereign wealth fund like Trump is talking about trying to put together so that we can actually start growing our value in our dollar of what we're putting in and what we're bringing in. Tariffs help. You understand what I'm saying? Well, Marcus, but tariffs make prices go up too. Yes, they do. But Trump has said that he's going to make it so that any companies that actually manufacture their stuff in the United States of America will not have those tariffs, which is fantastic. And that's exactly how it needs to be, because we need to reshore all of the jobs that we lost by sending manufacturers overseas. If you check out now, you flip something over, it's made in China, or it's made, I remember when things were still made in Taiwan. You remember that? They used to say made in Taiwan on the back of it instead of China? Now everything says made in China. We even used to have stuff that was made in Japan. I remember that. That is cool. Japan makes good stuff in general. But, you know, we got all of this stuff. Everything that we have is from somewhere else. I live in upstate New York, you know, apples and stuff like that. And I go to the store, I go buy some apple juice, says the apple juice is from Brazil. and Paraguay and all of this nonsense. How many people you know can put Paraguay on a map? You understand what I'm saying? They even know where it is on a map. And you talking about me in the apple capital of the United States, okay? We don't got no apples from here. Okay, what is this? Why is this? Why is my juice coming from other foreign countries? You understand what I'm saying? Like, we don't produce it here. Then I like blueberries. You know, Maine produces a lot of blueberries and stuff like that. And sometimes blueberries might be out of season and things like that. But it's not talking about just when things are out of season. We're talking about all year round. And when you go into manufacturing, like they're trying to bring back US Steel, which is fantastic. Hopefully a lot of those jobs come back and we start manufacturing steel here. I'd love to see us building. You know, Trump's turned on the taps as far as drilling goes for oil and natural gas. So we'll see how that works out. He just had a meeting the other day with Doug Burgum and a couple of other people. Doug Burgum's the Secretary of the Interior, and a couple of other people announcing more investment in, how did he say it? Essentially what happened under the Biden administration is they sold up a lot of the lands so that you can't build or develop on them that are federal lands. And Trump rescinded that order, which was an executive order. It wasn't done by Congress. So now people are going to be able to drill and or file for permits for those areas. And he was saying essentially that's putting that land back on our balance sheets. So if you guys know anything about any bit of accounting or anything like that, in your balance sheet, it's saying that you have this as an asset. So when you have it as an asset, it shows that you have extra value. So that can be used in any number of ways, whether you're looking at getting a loan, whether you're looking at encouraging other people to do investments and all types of other stuff. So it's very, very important. And me, I'm an environmentalist, so I'm not very fond of destroying the environment, but Trump did say this, and this is a true fact. You know, we've got because of the regulations we have in this nation, this plants and the manufacturing and everything that we do is much better than it is in all of these other countries. And just because you don't see them doing all of this crazy toxic dumping like they do in China and stuff, just because you don't see it doesn't mean it's not happening with all the products that you're buying. And that was a very key point for him to point out. And a lot of people just don't see that and they don't get it at all. And it's very, very important. And as we continue, I got to do a quick spot here real quick. Thank you guys for tuning into the Divide with Marcus C. Williams. You're listening to WRFZ 106.3. And if you're listening to us on the radio, tell your friends, family, and your enemies, tune in on Tuesdays, 2:30 to 4 p.m. to WRFZ 106.3 Rochester Free Radio and listen to The Divide with Marcus C. Williams. And if you guys are listening online, please drop a comment, hit the thumbs up, hit a heart, or even just drop a heart or a thumbs up in the comments. Derek, I see you just made a comment. I'm going to try to get to that in a second. And please, if you guys can, each episode, we're trying to raise $50 to $100 to get more airtime and to try to get some more money to get faster internet speeds and stuff like that so you don't see it lagging, and some better equipment. We're working on it. Please help. We need all the assistance we can get. You can donate via Cash App. That's $MW Real. The digit 1, that's $MW Real 1. Or you can do givesendgo.com/Marcus C. Williams. We also have PayPal and Venmo, and you can do @Marcus C. Williams on PayPal and Venmo. So please donate, whether you can, $5, $10, $15, or $50, or $100. Whatever you can helps keep us in actual radio production and be able to get more stuff done. We don't get on the air for free. We got to pay some bills here. So please help us with what you can. And if you own a business and you'd like to be a supporter, let us know and we'll help advertise your business or give your businesses a thing. Say, hey, this is one of our sponsors. You know what I'm talking about. Let's see what Derek's on about. Derek says, if you're elected, what would be your first change? Oh, that's a good thing, Derek. Thank you for asking. If you guys don't know, I'm running for city council locally where I am. That's one of the things I talk about all the time, getting involved locally. So Derek asked me what would be one of the first things that I would change. First thing I would do is I'd propose a 10-year audit, okay, an open audit where the books are open to the public and the public can see how and where all the money is going. That'll be my first piece of legislation when I get in office to put forth for the city of Rochester. because I think it's very clear that people are not happy about the way that the city is spending money, and they don't know where the money is going, and they don't like it very much, and there is no transparency, and it's hard to figure out stuff. And when you even figure out a little bit of something, they want to make you file a freedom of information request for everything. And it's crazy. And then they deny your freedom of information access, which is a whole nother separate conversation, which needs to be worked on. Thank you, Derek, for your question. I appreciate you greatly. You guys, if you drop a comment in, I'll do my best to read your comment on air and address any of your questions that you got. Just don't put nothing extra super crazy up there, okay? And make sure you share this with your friends, your family, and everybody on your page in other groups and all of that. So let's get back into it. So with them opening up the different lands, federal lands and stuff like that, and putting them back on our balance sheet, it's very important that we know that now we can do faster, what would you say, construction, right? Faster construction. Hopefully we'll be able to streamline construction on a lot of different manufacturing developments, as well as oil and natural gas exploration and production. Realistically, I'd love to see the president come out and say, yeah, we're working on building some more refineries. I think that they very much so need to work on building refineries, because the refineries are really what cut the costs on the oil and natural gas. The more refineries we have to refine them, the lower the cost is, because we'll have a bigger supply. But what happens is frequently we find these refineries in places like the Mississippi Delta or Louisiana and stuff like that, where they ended up coming down and getting hit by a hurricane, and then they either have to slow production or they lose production completely, and now you got to rebuild and all of that. I'd love to see them all up and down the coast. I'd like to see at least every state have like 2 oil refineries, okay, if that's even possible, like realistically, right? Like, because there might just be too much oversupply at that point. But most of them already have, most states have some form of a refinery, not all of them, but we do need them more on the coast, especially New York City needs them, and New York State needs refineries. We don't really have any anymore. That's a whole separate conversation. I could have a whole episode on that, because it's crazy what they've done to our oil and natural gas industry in New York State. And then you wonder why we got some of the highest energy prices in the nation. They've closed down nuclear power plants. Make that make sense. You talk about you want green energy, you want to close down nuclear power plants and then put out all of these ridiculous solar panels in the middle of nature, cutting down all these trees, clear cutting forests and all of this. Also, the other day I saw in, I think it's Michigan. I'm pretty sure it's Michigan. That's where Gritton Wetchmeyer is. Can't stand herself. Is that Gretchen? I think so. Anyway, doesn't matter. But they're clear cutting 100,000 acres to put a massive solar farm. 100,000 acres of forest they're clear cutting. Are you serious? Like, you're supposed to be talking about you're good for the environment, and that's what you're doing? You're clear cutting that much forest for a solar field? Man, listen, don't even get me started. It's very upsetting, but that happens here in New York State. All of this cropland, fertile cropland, they're putting all of these highly toxic, poisonous solar panels on and preventing the farmers from growing crops, because they're like, listen, we'll give you subsidies and stuff if you put up solar panels and then don't grow crops. And then we wonder why the price of food is going up. Okay? You understand what I'm saying? If you guys are watching and following, hit the like, hit the heart button, drop a comment down below, and we'll do our best to pop your comment up on screen and address it as we're going here. Let's see what you got. Kevin says, I have used FOIL every now and then when I wanted to learn what local governments are doing. Sometimes my requests do get denied too. Yeah, they've denied more than a couple of my requests of where I put in requests for different information and stuff like that, and they'll say all types of crazy stuff. One time I remember they put on there, they said, oh, well, it's not detailed enough. Me? Not detailed enough? Not asking a specific enough question? What do you mean? Like me, out of all people, like if it was somebody else, maybe. But all of my questions are very specific and direct and clear. I do my best to make sure that they are. That's one of my key standpoints in life, to make sure that my orders and directions are clear, okay? And to make sure that my questions are clear, because I believe it's very important to have clear and concise actual transition of information. It's very, very important to me. So that was, I felt some type of way when they said that. But as we continue with talking about the different things that we need to spur our nation back to dominance and supremacy on the world stage, we're looking at our numbers for the military are up. That's fantastic. But you know what's still an issue? The president got up the other day and he was like, 80% of the people that are in military age in the US are not eligible to be in the military because they're not physically fit enough. That's terrible. We need to increase physical fitness in our country, and then we wonder why everybody's sick and dying and they can't move and they got diabetes and they got heart problems and they got this and they got that. Oh, it's because we're not teaching fitness. And then you look at the food and what's his name? The RFK, he just got I guess you say confirmed to be the head of health and the health secretary. So good for him. Now let's see if he actually does something, right? I'm not a big fan of him, if you guys have heard me talk about him before, because he said stuff in the past like if you don't follow the government narrative and you try to say something against the government, you should be silenced. And then he said also that all semi-automatics should be taken away from people. And if you guys know anything about firearms or don't know anything about firearms, pretty much everything is a semi-automatic, okay? Pretty much every type of firearm is a semi-automatic, okay? And that's a problem. So that's essentially eliminating 98% of all firearms in the United States. So I'm not a fan of his, but he's been saying that he's doing stuff on health. So we'll see what he does, right? Let's see. And the food quality, if you guys start to read the labels on stuff when you go pick up your food, now everything says genetically engineered or bioengineered on it. Why are you bioengineering and genetically engineering all the food? What happened to regular food? What happened to regular animals just eating the animals, just eating the crops? Why do we need all this genetic and bioengineered stuff? We shouldn't even have that. That should be outlawed. If you ask me, I'm not a big make new laws type of person. I'm not a big of tell people what to do with their own freedoms type of person, but that stuff needs to be outlawed. Okay. We don't need any genetically engineered and bioengineered stuff. All it does is put more money in different manufacturers' pockets that make those seeds and stuff like that, whether it's the Facebook people or whether it's Monsanto or whether it's any of these John Deere or any of these other companies that are 50 shades of different nonsense. Okay. It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible what's going on with our food in America. And then even if it doesn't say genetically engineered, look at all of the seed oils, right? As one of my friends likes to say, Hotep Jesus, he likes to say, they're putting seed oil in your supplements. and I laugh, but it's true, They putting seed oil in your supplements. They put seed oil in your hair products. They put seed oil in your food and stuff like that. It's true. The seed oils are everywhere, and we know seed oils are bad for you. Seed oils were manufactured as lubricants for machines. And then somebody got the great idea of, I could sell them to people and say that they're good for them and that make it like that it's something that's good. But they're made from high pressure and high heat, and it's bad, you guys. Seed oils are bad for you. It's a very serious issue. But they're in everything now. Another thing that's in everything? Soy oil, okay? Soybean oil is in everything right now, and soybeans are terrible for you, okay? And people say, well, Marcus, but they're good for you. No, don't listen to the vegans. Soy is bad, okay? It always has been, okay? And I could run through a whole list on why soy is bad for you or whatever, aside from just the gastrointestinal issues, the fact that it has like no nutrients in it and is all basically a bunch of non-soluble trash, okay? It's a problem. And that's just mostly the products that they make it into, the tofu and stuff like that, which everything is tofu for vegans now, which is all terrible, or the fake meat and all of that, which is all terrible. And they call it plant-based meat, not because it comes from a physical plant that grows in the ground, but because it comes from a manufacturing plant. That is a fact, Jack. You can go look that up. Don't believe me because I'm saying it. Believe me because I'm telling you. Go look that up. That's insane to me. When you realize that how they play with these words and play with the American people, you start to really understand what's actually going on. So I encourage you guys, if you're following us online, hit the like, hit the heart button, drop a comment, even if you're just dropping an emoji in the comments or something like that. We'll pop that up too. And if you guys could, please do donate to support the show. We've got Cash App, $MW Real 1. That's $MW Real, the digit 1. We also have Venmo and PayPal, and that's at Marcus C. Williams. We're looking to raise $50 to $100 an episode so we can get more airtime and stuff like that. Please do donate, even if it's $5, $10, or even $50 or $100. Whatever you can do, please donate. We got you. So as we continue with the show, we look at America open for business. And we have to ask ourselves, what does that look like for us as Americans, as citizens? Do we start our own businesses? Do we start to look to see what companies are up and coming? And we also have to recognize that there are a lot of people that now aren't going to have government jobs because the government is downsizing on the federal level. And I'm all for that. I'm all in support of that. I don't think that the government should be putting all of these jobs on its balance sheet because that is a waste of our resources. The government is too big and too bloated, and the one hand doesn't know what the other hand is doing, and that's even being too generous. I'd say that the pinky finger doesn't know what the ring finger is doing on the same hand in the government. That's how bad it is. Okay, it's really, really, really bad. And we need to understand that as the new administration and the presidency, they start to strip back more and more of these jobs that are in there, these people will now have to go into private industry, which is not bad because there are going to be more jobs, Lord willing, in private industry with them reshoring all of this manufacturing and stuff like that. I'm really solidly praying and hoping that all of this works out fantastically because I want to see our country benefit. I want to see our country grow. I want to see a bright future for tomorrow for myself, for the children, and for the continued propagation of our nation. So it's very, very, very important to me. And I stand firm on that. America first, 100%, which is interesting because now all of a sudden you got people like Pierre Poilievre who saw what was going on here with Trump and America first and MAGA and Make America Great Again and all this stuff. And now they're up there talking about, oh, Canada first, Canada first. Canada first what? What does that even mean? They're like, oh, well, we're too dependent on the U.S. Why are you too dependent on the U.S.? The U.S. didn't make you dependent on us. You made us more have investment in Canada. You understand what I'm saying? Because they lowered the prices and they lowered the cost to manufacture stuff in Canada so that they can import the goods into the U.S. so that they can have the jobs that came from that type of manufacturing, like a lot of these cars are being made in Canada. But anyway, this is what we're seeing on a daily basis with now Canada's like, oh, Canada first. What does Canada first even look like? Canada's like, well, we need to diversify or whatever so we can do business with more other people and countries and stuff like that. How are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? Who's the next closest nation? Canada? Let's see. China? England? You know what I'm saying? Like, who are you going to do trade with? How much more new shipping routes and stuff like that and deep water ports and things like that do you need to build to even make that practical? And then my question is why, as the U.S., we would even allow them to have the time to build up to that, to try to be like, oh, well, we can do something else, when we know that China is all up and through Canada right now, and they're doing them in all types of ways, invading their government and stuff like that, and using them to spy on the United States of America. Right? But can we talk about that? China's essentially taken over a large portion of Canada and the Canadian government. Okay, they own Justin Trudeau and all of that nonsense. So these are the questions and the conversations that we need to be having. Like, but are we willing to have those serious conversations? It's interesting to me that people don't even understand what's really going on in Canada. A lot of the provinces, and I'll just take three particular, so that, you know, like they got the Northwest Territories and stuff in the north where like 2 people live and stuff like that. Canada has 13 provinces. So the U.S. is like, I'm pretty sure it's 13. Is it 13? Yeah, it's 13. Is it or 16? I think it's 13. It doesn't matter. But anyway, so the U.S. is like, oh, well, they're going to be the 51st state. They wouldn't be the 51st state. They'd be like the 51 through 63. You understand? 64. You know what I'm saying? So that's what they would really be like. But that's if we incorporate all of the current provinces the way that they are. We might not even do that. You understand? But in the last few years, and I've been following this, places like Saskatchewan and Alberta have had very strong movements to try to become states. You understand? So that's something they want to become part of the US. So that's something that'll be interesting to see. And then Canadians are like, oh well, some Canadians are like, oh well, America's bad, da 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 da, and they had the nerve to boo our people at the hockey games that were singing the national anthem. I was like, Trump put 75% tariffs on tomorrow. Forget the 90-day stay. Forget all of that. Who do they think that they are? Okay, all of that. Anyway, I was really feeling some type of way, and I stand by that. Put the hurt on them bad. 100% tariffs. Make them capitulate. You understand? And people say, oh, well, Marcus, that's mean. That's not my problem. That's a whole nother country. That's a country that's doing stuff to, what would you say, backdoor us and do shady stuff for that actually isn't beneficial for the United States. You understand what I'm saying? I used to like Canada, and then they tried to kill all their people. Yes, Canada's killing all their people. They've got medically aided induced death, the assisted suicide. They're just randomly killing their people, their elderly, their poor, the drug addicts and everything. And they're like, well, you can just kill yourself. I'm like, how can you say that? How is that a part of your government? But that also goes back into abortions and stuff like that. And well, they're promoting abortions and stuff like that. Well, where do we go after abortions? They get in and they kill the elderly. And that's what they're doing in Canada. And now they're expanding medically aided induced death in the United States. They're trying to push for it harder in New York State right now. And I'm not a fan of it at all. I don't believe that you should be killing off our elders. That's wrong. That's wrong. And they want to call it medically aided induced death to try to make it sound good, like they're trying to do something. But if you hear them talk about abortion, because that's where all this stuff comes from, it's all about population control. If you hear them talk about abortion, they're like, yeah, if you're poor and you live in poverty, you should have an abortion because you shouldn't have kids go through that. What? Excuse me? Who says stuff like that? Who says something like that? That's crazy. That's an insane thing to say. You should have an abortion because you're because you're poor. What the? Listen, Lord have mercy. Make me want to say something else, okay? But it's these type of things that are important to have in these conversations that a lot of people don't want to have because they don't know what's going on in Canada. You know that Canada was debanking people. Anybody that donated to the peaceful protests of the truckers in Canada, they were killing their dogs and pets and cats. Like this was a real thing. Like they were kidnapping their dogs and pets. The government was doing this. They were euthanizing their dogs and cats. That's what they were doing. This is a real thing. Like you want to talk about totalitarian repressive regime right there in Canada, our neighbor to the north that's supposed to be so sweet and so kind. Well, they're not anymore. They're so communist, it's out of control. Okay. In bed with the Chinese real deep. Not to say that a lot of people in America politics aren't in bed with the Chinese real deep. Like what's his face? Gavin Newsom in California. I can't stand him either. That's a whole separate conversation. I don't want to make this about him, man. Listen, okay, he's a bad man. It's all when we talk about Canada and what's going on there. It's not positive. It's not. They're not the nice neighbor to the north that we used to think that they were. What's his name? The hockey player Wayne Gretzky and Tim Hortons and all this other stuff and the maple leaf and the syrup and all of this other stuff that we used to think of them as the way that they are. They're not what we think that they are. Plus, they're war criminals, which is a whole nother conversation. Canada has a history of committing war crimes, which is we don't ever talk about that, but we talk about how sweet and kind they are. Lies. But it's really, really, really a whole different world up there. And Pierre Poilievre, who is, I guess, essentially the leader of the minority party up there, which is the Conservatives, because what do they call themselves? I don't know what they call themselves. Progressives, or what are they called? Liberals. I don't know. Whatever the party of Trudeau is, whatever that is, that's the lead party. But the Conservatives are the minority party there. And Pierre Poilievre is like, oh, we need to prioritize Canada and stuff like that, and this, that, and third, and da da da. Good for him, right? Because he's a Canadian politician. But I live in America. My priorities are America. So if that means integrating Canada with the U.S. and making Canada become incorporated in the United States, good. I'm all for it, right? Because also I don't like passing through the border and all of that nonsense anyway. Okay, so I'm all for it. Now I do understand a little different than some other people do that that is a territory that is owned completely by the crown. Okay, that means that Prince, who we got, King Charles now. Again, we got a King Charles again. I think it's King Charles, right? King Charles is in control of Canada. So Canada's not even their own country, y'all. They're not their own country. So in theory, we can just purchase Canada from the King of England and be done with it tomorrow. But I think that what's happening is Trump's trying to gain some traction on the idea that Canada can be part of the US. And by pushing it that way, he's really selling that idea and that vision. And I don't think that he's wrong with doing that. You know, um, I still personally, side note, yes, I do have something against Canada, and that's the War of 1812 when the Canadians came down here and burnt down D.C. and burnt down the White House, and I do want some get back. Okay, I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm not forget that. And if you, um, James Madison fought in the War of 1812. Also, it's a side note. Go look up the War of 1812. Very, very interesting. But we could incorporate Canada into the U.S. It is something that's doable, and it would give us more natural resources and create more defensible border because we're already spending a lot on defending Canada. Something like $200 billion a year. That's a lot of money for a foreign country. You know what I'm saying? They're not even our country. Why are we spending so much on defending them? Even though defending them in quote fingers, if you're listening on the radio, is really defending the U.S. as well. But that's the whole other problem. If defending them is really defending the U.S., why aren't they the part of the U.S. Right? So we also have Kash Patel, who's trying to get confirmed for office, and I really hope that Kash Patel comes in office real soon and they confirm Kash Patel. We really need him. We just had Tulsi Gabbard get confirmed. That was kind of awesome. Okay. I really hope that she does good. I don't know. I kind of got a soft spot for her because she's a strong woman. Okay. That's also a military woman. And I like that. So I got a little bit of a soft spot for her with that because I also like that she's been very vocal on a number of different issues. So I hope she does good. I don't know, but I think she'll do good. I really like Kirsty Noem. I think she's fantastic. I think she's going to do a great job. So we've got a cabinet that's shaping up really good, really fast. And again, this is less than a month. We're still today's the 17th. We're just under 1 month. 3 more days, and then Trump will have been in office a month. It already feels like 5 years. And now he's talking about, oh, well, we're going to solve the issue with the Ukraine. And it's crazy to the Ukraine to talk about, what you call him, Keir Starmer, the head of England right now, like the prime minister over there. He's like, oh, yeah, we're going to put ground troops in Ukraine. You better not. You better not put ground troops in Ukraine. Talking about, oh, well, it's going to be a peacekeeping mission. You better not. Okay? You better not put ground troops in Ukraine. There's a long story there about how the wherever English troops go, we always end up having problems. Okay, it's just a historical thing. Whenever there's like an occupation or a defense or whatever, when there are English troops over there, it ends up getting cocked up royal, and the people end up rebelling, and they end up expelling everybody out of there. It's always a thing, always a thing. So many things in history. India, Afghanistan, all of it. Afghanistan twice, right? Like Afghanistan twice, craziness. But these are things that we should not be doing. We should not be putting troops in Ukraine. Okay, why can't Ukraine defend itself? They've been doing a great job defending themselves so far. Okay, defending. But why can't they defend themselves? Why do you need UK troops there, right? Are they not doing a good job now? So you think that if there is a peace treaty that they won't be able to defend themselves then? Which is a whole much longer conversation about how they've killed so many Ukrainian men by forcing them into conscription even against their will, and dragging them off the streets and all types of other crazy stuff. But they don't show that, and we can't talk about that because Ukraine's so great and Zelensky's a hero. Zelensky is a demon puppet of the CIA. I said exactly what I said, and of the State Department. And I don't even know so much of the State Department and more of Her Majesty's Royal Service. You understand what I'm saying? Like, it's not for the people of Ukraine. Where that money at, Zelensky? Zelensky got on the TV talking about half the money that got sent to Ukraine they didn't actually get. Where the money? Where the money? How you own 10 mansions, Zelensky? How you own 10 mansions all around the world that we know about? How your wife going out for all this Christian Dior and all of these different parties and buying all of this expensive hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of highly fashionable goods? Explain it to me. Wasn't you a comedian? Where you get all this money from, bro? Where the money come from? Right? So that's our money. And then don't get me started on how the U.S. is sending money over there to pay the pensions of the Ukrainian, what do you call them, public workers, when our public workers right here in the homeland have issues with their pensions. And we can't talk about that. You understand what I'm saying? When our veterans have issues with their veteran money, we can't talk about that. It's crazy. Don't even get me started. But Keir Starmer talking about they're going to send British troops into Ukraine. You better not, bro. You better not, because if you do that, the U.S. needs to pull out of NATO tomorrow and be like, listen, Russia, it is what it is, and wash our hands of the whole Ukraine situation if England want to put their troops in there. Okay? Because if that's what they about to do, that is a recipe for disaster. They should not be doing that. None of that. However, Trump did say that there should be non-NATO forces in Ukraine to try to bolster up Ukraine's defenses and stuff like that. It's all NATO. It's all still NATO. All of the European countries, it's all still NATO. It doesn't matter. It's essentially the same thing, regardless. So it's semantics. It's really semantics, and it gets really frustrating really quick when we start to have these conversations because, again, these aren't things that we really talk about. Not really, not mostly at all. If you guys are watching us online, take a second, hit the share button, hit the like button, drop a comment. If you drop a comment, we'll do our best to pop it up on the screen. And please do donate. You can see the little ticker below. You can see how to donate via Cash App. That's $MWReal1. That's $MWReal1 on Cash App. Or you can do givesendgo.com/Marcus C. Williams. Or you can do it on PayPal and Venmo. Yes, we got PayPal and Venmo. That's at Marcus C. Williams on either of those. Let's go back into it. But we got so much stuff going on. And I believe very firmly that the U.S. is ascending back to its throne on world dominance. But we need to actually fix our country because it is important that we fix what's going on here internally so we can externally project more power and actually have more power and resources here in the homeland in case, Lord forbid, something did break out, like China attacks Taiwan and then decides that they don't want to do any business with us and they could just strangle us through non-trade because everything is made in China, like I said earlier. Let's see. Ramon says something. What's Ramon saying? Ramon says, meanwhile, black on black crime is being ignored. Well, you know, it's not just black on black crime, right? It's white on white crime. White on white crime exceeds black on black crime. Something like, I don't even know. It's still like, it's so high, it's ridiculous. It's like tenfold, right? Like you're talking about like, it's a very, very crazy number. But where you do see black on black crime is in condensed urban areas that are all run by Democrats because the policies are horrible, the education systems are horrible, and it's difficult to get a good paying job. So people don't see beyond their basic surroundings, and they just are more so given to possibly committing crime because why not? If the laws prohibit you from being arrested for doing crime, why not? You understand what I'm saying? We have a very serious retail theft problem in my area. Okay. And they try every day. So I live in the city, but I also live in Monroe County. Okay. So in the city of Rochester, there is a lot of black on black crime. I use the term lightly, right? But that's just what's being reported because we have a high percentage of black people in the city. Okay. Depending on how your numbers cut it, where black people are over 30% of the population in the city, up to 50% um, on some calculations. But if you look at the people that are largely in poverty or at risk of being in poverty, it's those same group of people, because all of the jobs have been taken out of our neighborhoods and communities by Democrats during the deindustrialization of the city centers, which was done by President Lyndon B. Johnson, who was a Democrat, who was one of the most racist men in the history of our nation. Okay, so there's that, and then I could go into CPS, and then I can go into DSS and keeping men out of the household and all of this other stuff. I can go into all of that. So when we say that, oh, black on black crime is ignored, that's not really a real fact. What's happening is that they are enabling crime, period. It just so happens where we see the biggest issues are where there are a tight, condensed population of poverty or underserved communities. And those tend to be in large scale in this age, like in the last, since the 90s, since really the late 70s, black communities, because they disenfranchised the black communities in America. Now, if we widen it out to the county, we have a huge retail theft problem, which is largely being driven by white people. So, but we don't talk about that as much. Greece has a mall where I live. Like there's a town, it's called Greece. They have a mall. And if you look at them, they tend to try to post up pictures of, oh, these people are wanted for stealing and stuff like that. It's always a whole bunch of white people. And then some foreigners. You understand what I'm saying? So what about them? So when we say black on black crime, what are we even really talking about? Now, to your other note, it starts locally. I always encourage that. We have to get active locally and involved in politics. And I always encourage people. I don't want you to become a political activist. No, I want you to become politically involved, right? Like in actual politics. Join your local political committee. Start going to city council meetings. Start going to county ledge meetings. Start understanding more and more what's going on where you live and who's affecting what parts of the aspect of the government and spending your money. That's very, very, very important. Very, very, very important. I guess somebody commented on Twitch, but it doesn't seem to say anything. Okay. It seems to be like a troll or something there. But yeah, so it's crazy that so many people care so much. And I use the term care loosely, and if you feel like you're being judged, you are. This is gonna sound 100% rough, and you might feel some type of way. It's gonna come out real rough and real gruff. But I'm gonna tell you this: we got to get involved. You got to get involved. I'm involved. I'm about as involved as I can without getting a paycheck to actually be politically active. You understand what I'm saying? I am not only involved in my local city committee, I'm involved in my county committee for the Republicans. I'm a Republican committeeman for the city committee. I'm a Republican committee member for the county committee. I'm the chairman of the Rochester City Republican Committee. I go to as many of our city council meetings, speak to council as possible. I go to as many of our speak to county ledge meetings as possible. I do my best to stay up on all of what's going on in our state assembly. Okay, it's like the only way for me to do more is if somebody's like, here is a check. We're going to give you $60,000 a year to just go on and do what you do. You understand what I'm saying? That's the only way I could be more involved with anything. So, but what Ramon is saying is 100% accurate. It's up to us. We have to get active. And so many people say that they care, but you don't get active. You got to get active. Nobody's coming to save us. I say this all the time on this show. Nobody's coming to save us. Nobody's coming in on a white horse. Nobody's coming down out the clouds to save us. We are all we got. And if we are going to see a thriving country and have a massive amount of opportunity coming into the country and for our future, it's going to be up to us to champion that and push it forward. And it starts on the local level. Okay, so get involved locally. Everybody gets distracted by the president and by all this other nonsense that's going on. But people forget that the local is where it matters the most. And we have to get more people involved. That is how we make a real difference. So one of the things that's important that we talk about, because we've got some time left here, is we need to talk about what's going on in our actual military. So they're about to start going into the defense spending and stuff like that, and the DoD. Man, I don't know if these people gonna make it out alive. The last time somebody was investigating the books of of the Department of Defense, Donald Rumsfeld got up on the TV and said we can't account for $2.7 trillion, and the next day the Twin Towers collapsed magically. Just the timing is uncanny. I'm not saying that it's related, but I'm not saying it's not related. I'm saying that that timing is some type of a timing, right? So if that's what happened last time it was brought up, I mean, hey, what's going to happen this time? And we know that they take people out and all types of stuff like that. So that's something that we do need to do need to look out for. But hopefully they can do something there and say, hey, all of this money is going to all of these different places and it's not good. It's being wastefully spent. Like, if you know anything about the military or have been in the military, there's always the ongoing joke about uh, golden hammers and golden toilet seats and stuff like that, because just the prices that the military pays for things are just extremely absurd when you can get them for much less expensive on the open market. So, but that's because there are many companies that seek to take advantage of our government, not by a little, by a lot. There was one bag of fittings that I saw in a committee meeting. I don't remember which committee it was. Maybe it was Armed Services, but it was a bag of, like, I don't know, like the punch fittings that they have that are like steel and stuff like that. They said the bag cost like less than $10. I forget how much, but they paid like $9,000 for the bag in the Air Force. Like, why is that? How is that something that's okay? Why is nobody looking into this? You know what I'm saying? Maybe let's say it's $9 and they spent $50 for it. That's a lot of money still over regular price, but you're talking about 9,000 compared to nine. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is a huge, huge difference. Like, that's not even in the same ballpark. So, but this is the type of spending that goes on, and you have to ask yourself, who's getting this money? Whose pockets is it really going into? But this is the same thing that we see with all different types of, I guess you would say, branches of the government, right? Like, we saw this with expenditures in Health and Human Services. We saw this with expenditures in the Department of Education. They're still going through the Department of Education right now. It's bad, you guys, and the government's stealing our money. I wish that they go and audit the IRS. That's who I really want to get into, okay? Because they about to come and talk about, oh, we owe them some tax money when shouldn't even be legal for them to take taxes. That's a whole separate conversation. We didn't used to have taxes, income tax especially, in the United States. They just started that back after the Depression because they wanted to steal more money from the people. And really, it didn't even get really big time until like the late 60s. So it's really, really serious. It's really serious, and it's a daggone shame. Okay, while I'm at it, let me just pop this bug out there. Okay, end the Fed, abolish income tax. Facts. Okay, income tax, estate tax, all of that, tax, all of the taxes gone. Okay, I'm not even talking about replacing them with anything. Don't replace them with nothing. The tariffs are fine, and if we want to raise money, we can do bonds. That's it. That's how I really feel. Okay, please hit a like, hit a share, hit a subscribe. Okay, if you're not already commenting, drop a comment in the comments. We'll try to pop your comments up. We got a couple minutes here going still, and we'll try to pop whatever comments we get up here. So please hit the share button though, and hit the like button and the heart, or drop a comment even with a little emoji in it, because that always helps the algorithm too. Now, as I can say this, moving forward, if you are concerned about the direction that our country is going, understand, we have been given an opportunity in this new president to not only just shrink the bureaucracy and shrink the money that's being peddled through the government. We have been given a chance to revitalize our own economies and to be able to achieve something that remotely looks like building future wealth, which we very much so do need to do, is build generational wealth. But that's been denied many of us because of our state policies. So we have to work locally and on the state level to start to change a lot of what's going on our local and state level. Because again, if we don't do it at home, no, the president can do whatever he wants, but he can only do stuff in the presidential executive level. That's it. You know, other stuff has to go through Congress, but again, still, that's just federal level stuff. So it's local level that affects you every day. If your toilet goes flush, or if your garbage can gets picked up, if you're outside. I know some of you guys in the suburbs or more rural areas have to pay for your garbage disposal, but in the cities, most of it's in our taxes, which is a whole nother conversation about a massive boondoggle, which is a bunch of nonsense. Like the snow plowing, like I said, in my city, we're a snow heavy city, and they don't even plow the daggone sidewalks. The mayor and the city of Rochester had the daggone nerve, you guys. Daggone nerve, the audacity, the gall, the gumption, okay? To put out an article in the news the other day talking about, oh, well, people should salt their sidewalks and shovel their sidewalks. You should salt the sidewalks and shovel the sidewalks. What are you talking about? You don't do that. You don't do that at all. It's 3 inches deep of ice on any given sidewalk in the city of Rochester. And you talking about the people in the community should salt and shovel their stuff. You ain't salting and shoveling a gosh darn thing in the city. We lucky that they shoveled some of the snow on some of the sidewalks in the city this afternoon. Like, it's crazy. Now, I don't know if that's got to do with a contracting issue, if somebody's dropping the ball on the contracting, or if they just being cheap and they ain't trying to pay nobody, or what the situation is, but we deserve better. We deserve better. And if it's not us that's going to demand better, then nobody is going to actually do it. That's why we have to stand up and demand better from our government, because it's important. It's important that we are the ones who get involved. So we got to. We really, really have to. And I know I harp on that a lot, but it's because it's important. Like the city got the daggone nerve. I'm not even able to deal. I can't believe that they had the nerve to say that. How you going to get out your mouth and say, oh, well, the people need to shovel and plow their sidewalk? You need to do it. Do what you're supposed to do. The roads ain't even shoveled. And you talking about the sidewalks. Y'all don't even do the sidewalk. Got the kids and the people walking. Then they got the nerve to make the roads smaller because they've done this crazy. I've talked about it before, but they call it traffic calming. Really what it is restriction of mobility so that they can prevent you from being able to drive freely. They don't want that. So now, where people used to be able to even walk in the streets if the sidewalks were so crazy, which they're always that crazy, which is a problem. You can't even walk in the streets no more because there ain't no room to walk in the streets no more because it's so tight. And you definitely can't cycle in the winter here because there's not enough street to actually cycle in because they've taken away a lot of the roads. And they don't plow the snow. You understand what I'm saying? And even if they did, because of the way our city runs it, we don't dispose of the snow. We just push it off to the side and let it melt and hope that it goes down the drain. You understand what I'm saying? Which causes its own other problems, okay? Which we're not talking about on this episode today. But they don't just get rid of the snow, so you can't even bike if you wanted to. And I cycle enthusiastically most of the year. You understand? So this is something that's really, really serious. And we need to have these firm conversations about what's happening in our towns and our municipalities. But we need to get involved because nobody's going to change the issues that we have if not us. So one of the other issues that I see where we are that isn't being addressed by our elected officials is the drug overdoses. They don't even talk about the overdoses like it's not even a real thing. And I've seen more strung out white young men in my neighborhood than I've ever in life. And I'd love to know where they're coming from. white young men in my neighborhood. First of all, my neighborhood is not filled with white young men. I don't know where the hell they're coming from. Excuse me, heaven. I don't know where the heavens they're coming from. You understand what I'm saying? Where are they coming from? Where are all these drugs coming from that they're on? Okay? What's going on that these people are giving into drugs and that the drugs are being permeated in the community here? But that's something that our city doesn't want to talk about, and they don't want to have these type of conversations because it's important. But it's up to us as the citizens to actually stand up and say no more, the same way the people in these border towns are starting to stand up. Shout out to y'all in border towns in Mexico, in New Mexico, and in Texas that are out there standing up and standing on business. I see y'all going to your county meetings and your town meetings and stuff and standing up and trying to push back on the drugs and the human trafficking in your communities. I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Keep up the fight and keep the fight alive. I appreciate what's going on in Chicago with Chicago Goes Red and everybody out there and how they're standing up for their city and they're trying to push out all the illegal aliens and get something done about the crime that's going on in their city. I appreciate what you guys are doing out there. I see so much going on and so many people starting to get active. So I encourage all of my listeners, whatever you can do, start to get active yourself, even if it's just something small, like going to a meeting or supporting a candidate. Like you guys, if you see a good candidate running where you are, it's not easy to run as a candidate. So I encourage you, please donate or volunteer to their campaign, get active, go see if you can knock doors, make phone calls, whatever the case is, blase blah. We got a couple seconds here. We got one last, is this a post here? Yep. Luke says, we get less and less and pay more and more. We ain't got no dang rock salt in Western New York, but they got 58 million for condoms in Gaza, and they want to know why we're pissed. Absolutely. 100%. And I'll leave you with that as the thought of the day, you guys. You guys, make sure you tune into our other shows. You can watch it on the Marcus C. Williams channel. Please do donate. Do what you can. Cash App $MWReal1 or givesendgo.com/Marcus C. Williams. We also have PayPal and Venmo at Marcus C. Williams. And we're going to continue to fight. We're working on putting a couple of different shows. And remember, on Sundays at 7:30, we do the Elephant in the Room online. And you can find that on the Marcus C. Williams channel. So you guys remember, stand up, speak up, and don't shut up. Take action. You guys be blessed and be well. I'll catch you later.